Well, hey there, everybody. It is 7:30 p.m. CST on the 21st of August, 2021. Well, hello there, Playful. And I welcome you back to Cast Talks. Cast Talks is a weekly show that we do here on Cassius and Mishima. Well, howdy, yellow. And it is for background noise, chatting, or just feeling like you'd like someone hanging out with you while you do some chores or something else in the background. We read good news and watch animal videos as well. But today is a particularly important live stream. But before we get into that, let's take a recap of the activity that's happened while we've been gone. So thank you to Firewall42. Well, hello there, Destroy Knight. Where are one of our emotes that we just got? We have a new emote set. I can't figure out how to make it work, but... where is it? I don't see the emotes. I'm not how those work, but hello. Hey, Jenny. So glad you could make it. So thank you to Firewall42, Lydian Handcroft, Tis a Flesh Wound, Mind Control TV, and TW Crazy for following. So, because of all the follows, something very special has happened. This stream, after 10 months, after 43 weeks, and after all the hard work put in by everybody supporting me, and by my moderator, my first moderator, Playful, this is officially the first affiliate stream of Cassius and Mishima. We have all sorts of new, awesome things going on. We have new sounds, and we have our subscription button. But this is in no way a request for anybody to subscribe. Please do what you are capable of and what you are interested in. And if you feel that this stream deserves a subscription, it would certainly honor me and make me very flattered. But that is up to you to decide. I hope I can be worthy of such praise. But let's get started. To begin with, I hope everybody is doing very well. As well, there are channel points now, but I have no idea how those work, so we'll have to learn about that together. Channel points. My gosh, all this crazy stuff happening all at once. But yes, this is a crazy new time for Cast Talks, a crazy new time for me, and I am very grateful that all of you are here to join me. Certainly, it is a wondrous thing. But today, we have quite a bit of good news. We have news about world hunger. Cast Talks has leveled up. I know you're right, LA, it has. It really has. We had Amaranth is a health friend 8,000 years old that could feed the world. We have Mom's Zoopic is adorably photobombed by a stingray with remarkable resemblance to her daughter. I like that one myself. And we have Hacker, who stole and gave back 600 million, is offered a reward and a job on the company's security team. As you watch, you get points. You can click the bubble that shows how many you have and use them for random things. I'll have to look more into that. As far as points go, I'm going to have to learn about this myself more, but highlight your message, unlock a random sub. Okay, cool, there's some stuff here. There's some stuff here. But yes, we have lots of good news. So, to all of you here, I hope that you'll feel free to talk about your week and say how you've been doing. I'd be very happy to hear and to vocalize what's been going on with you. So to begin with, our first good news story, Amaranth is a health trend. It's by Andy Corbley from August the 15th. This might be the end of last week's news, but certainly it's still interesting to me. And it's a little long too, so it might be good. The nutritious ancestral plant of the Mayans. It's a flower. Its flowers a treasure, a small but powerful grain. Eat the leaf and the grain, which is ideal for roasting and making popcorn. This brief description on a website, translated from Spanish, belittles the grand potential and grander history of a humble but powerful superfood that could replace nutrient-deficient grains across the developing world. The first growers of the grain called amaranth were the always ahead of their time Mayan peoples of Central and South America. It was also cultivated by the Aztecs. When Spanish conquerors arrived in the 1600s, they threatened anyone seen growing amaranth because the spiritual connection they had to the plant was thought to undermine Christianity. According to a recent article in The Guardian, now free from such persecution, the ancestors of Mesoamerican peoples across Latin America are bringing this once common crop to the attention of the world's markets. A source of all 9 essential amino acids, as well as several key minerals like iron and magnesium, amaranth is a pseudo-cereal lying somewhere between a seed and a grain, like buckwheat or quinoa, and it does not contain gluten. That's pretty great. Additionally, it's now being grown and marketed in high-end products for the beauty industry, in essential oils, and health food stores, in far-flung places like South Asia, China, India, West Africa, and the Caribbean. With nearly 75 species in the Amaranthus genus, some amaranth species are cultivated as leaf vegetables, some for grain, and some for ornamental plants that may have planted in your garden. Densely packed flower clusters and stems grow in a range of striking pigments from maroon and crimson to ochre and lime. They can grow from 3 to 8 feet tall. Some of them are summer annual weeds, commonly referred to as pigweeds. The total value since the 1970s, when amaranth first began appearing on the shelves of stores, has ballooned into a global trade that's now valued at $5.8 billion. And one Pueblo woman from New Mexico thinks it has the potential to feed the entire world. Much of the revival of traditional amaranth cultivation methods, which involve saving the seeds of the best plants, similar to corn cultivation by Mexico's campesinos, have created a seriously resilient crop. A 2010 article from the New York Times detailing the rise of weeds resistant to the Monsanto herbicide Roundup explained that amaranth, considered a weed by some, displayed such resistance. Organizations like Cassffiliate in Guatemala, a Mayan word for Mother Earth, sell these ancient grains and seeds on their website. They also host workshops to help indigenous communities regain food security through ancestral methods of cultivation. So before we continue, I'd like to mention that there are already bowling alley planting methods that would probably do this particular amaranth component very well if you had the leafy, green, and protective shading plants in the middle of the alley alongside those trees that restore nitrogen to the ground and these between them. I think if we could master something like that, we would be in a very good shape as a culture for food, considering how much each of these plants grow. They also seem very durable, just from what I'm reading here. But regain is a key word here because the Guardian article details government forces had been persecuting the Mayan population and burning their fields. Farmers kept amaranth seeds in secret jars, buried underground. And when the 2-decade war ended, the remaining agriculturalists began to spread the seed and the growing methods across the countryside. Cassffiliate rose from the ashes of this conflict, thanks to more than 400 families from 24 Guatemalan villages who have been traveling every year to the United States to share their ancestral knowledge about the crop to predominantly indigenous and Latin language garden centers. Amaranth has completely changed the lives of families in our communities, not only economically, but spiritually, said Maria Aurelia Sitamu, a Mayan descendant and member of the Cacho Alum community since 2006. Rissy, hello there. I'm so glad you could make it. I'm real glad to see you. We've always viewed our seed relatives. The interchange of seeds, a vital part of healthy ag systems, has revived friendly connections between the Guatemalan Cachualum and their New Mexican Pueblo relatives. Oh, thank you. You're doing a great job, Lethal. I appreciate it. We've always viewed our seed relatives as relatives and kin, said Susie Pina, who believes the resilient, nutritious plant can feed the world. A perfect plant for drought-prone regions, amaranth has the potential to improve nutrition, boost food security, foster rural development, and support sustainable land care. Well, I like that one. So, I think if we were able to find a really great balance between supporting natural growing systems like amaranth and creating GMOs, which I know many people are afraid of GMOs. I understand why they would be, but I do think in the future we will need to modify and subject ourselves to new forms of consumption and products. GMOs may be very helpful to us, and I hope that we can destigmatize them and perfect them more seriously. It certainly would help our food needs if we could. As long as it's safe and all that. But if we were able to combine that with really serious and well-orchestrated gardening efforts, this would be one of the greatest things we could manage, making a really stable and well-stocked food system. World hunger is a very large task, a very tall order. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm blushing now. I thank you so much, Anna, and welcome to the stream. Congrats on Cassffiliate. Well, thank you again. Yeah, I hope everybody liked that noise. I chose it specially for this one. I'm happy to hear it. Well, I'm all giddy now. But yeah, it's stuff like this that interests me, because certainly the world needs more food. And this and logistics are some of the most important stuff. I hope we make it. And the bits make me feel very excited, I'll say that much. How are you doing, Anna? Let us know. I'd like to hear. Can I give you some points? How can I give you some points? Well, I don't know how to yet, but I'll figure it out. If in midsummer, getting ready for a set with your bestie, well, I'm glad to hear that you're doing great. It gives points over time as people watch the stream. I want to give out a bunch of points at once, though. That's what I want to do. Professor develops technology that cools people down without electricity or AC. This is from August the 16th of this year. If in midsummer you went onto the top of the grocery outlet supermarket in Stockton, don't know if you can, just no watching gives them. Yeah. I'll try and figure something out. California, and placed your hand on the strange glossy black panels you found there, you'd be shocked to find that they were as cold to the touch as a basement fuse box. Installed by a company called Sky Cool Systems, they are the first of a new breed of cooling technologies that radiate heat out through the atmosphere, lowering nearby air temperatures by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty good. Radiative cooling is what happens when the electromagnetic waves we call heat leave an object. It's the phenomenon that puts you at risk for a heat stroke in the desert during the day and hypothermia at night. The absorbed heat evacuates the landscape at sundown and without any moisture to trap it, leaves through Earth's atmosphere into outer space. A UCLA scientist reasoned that if a certain spectrum of warming rays is radiated out to the atmosphere during the day, it would cool whatever it left, potentially offering an alternative to traditional air conditioning. An estimated 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions are generated through cooling systems, both for homes and transport. But as global temperatures continue to climb, the use of cooling systems for homes and businesses is expected to triple over the coming years. Sort of a vicious spiral, unfortunately. SkyCool's radiative panels can absorb all the heat producing light from the sun, and rather than sending it back into the swirling cauldron of gases that are heating up the planet, it expels it into space. That's crazy. Aswath Rahman, a materials scientist at the University of California, Los Angeles, discovered that radiative cooling technologies like panels and special reflective paints had been investigated before, but then abandoned as impossible. The idea was that if something could radiate heat, even in broad daylight, it could save thousands in refrigeration costs. Rahman decided to submit a funding proposal to the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy, or ARPA-E, a branch of the Department of Energy. Despite the quilt of material and all the water vapor and CO2 that make up the atmosphere, infrared radiation between 8 to 13 micrometers in length passes through it as if it weren't there. So Rahman aimed to create a film that reflected visible light and which radiated the infrared light which can leave the atmosphere, ensuring the heat disperses and doesn't become someone else's problem. With colleagues from the Stanford Engineering Department led by Shanhui Fan, he created an ultra-thin film which he says could be produced in rolls 1 meter long by 2 meters wide, made of silica, glass, and hafnium dioxide, a coating agent used in the optics industry. Placed on a rooftop, they found their prototype panel became warmer when shaded from the sun's rays, a counterintuitive reaction to what one would expect, but the radiation was impeded by the material generating the shade. Furthermore, under the blazing summer sun, the panel was cool to the touch. That is absolutely crazy. I don't even know how that works. They're explaining it to me, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? It's going over my head. If placed on the hood of a car, the film would not only reflect any light from the sun, but radiate away some of the heat from the engine. If placed above where water pipes run through a building, I know, Jenny, I know, it would cool the water therein, reducing the load on air conditioning systems. And 10 degrees Fahrenheit's not nothing. That's a pretty big leap right there. After a trip to Mumbai in India revealed the speed at which the home AC market is growing, Rahman needed to ensure the panels and film would be cheap enough to be employed in developing countries near the tropics, where they're needed most. In Stockton, the grocery outlet supermarket spent $40,000 on refrigeration per year between their freezer aisles and the deli. SkyCool panels placed on the roof and is now saving about $5,800 in costs per year. So that's a fairly small reduction, but it's something. Washington Post reports that Rahman and SkyCool Systems have gone in search of grant money to replace all the air conditioners in a school as part of a project to see if their special film can itself be the principal cooling agent of a building, while National Geographic adds that some scientists have created models that suggested if only 1.5% of the world were covered in these panels, and that they could be maintained over a long enough period, it would reflect all the additional heat created by the climate crisis. So this seems like it's pretty top priority then, if you ask me. So in the vein of this same technology, it seems like this is a heating solution that is even topper and more important than, like, let's say, developing something that would produce less carbon dioxide or waste less water. This is more of like a permanent solution, it seems like. It's also super high tech. I mean, I've never even heard of anything close to this. It's like a paradox. Imagine wearing an entire suit of this stuff. You would just be cool all the time. You could just stand out in 90-degree weather and you'd be fine. Yeah, I don't understand it either, Playful, but it does sound very interesting. Very, very interesting. So here's our next one. The yellow center of the deadliest flower is a lifeline to farmers and the planet. By Andy Corbley from August the 16th. In Kenya, a drive through the Central Highlands will sometimes reveal a landscape covered in a beautiful, white-petaled flower with a lethal secret. The yellow center of the chrysanthemum cinereifolium contains one of the world's great natural insecticides that, as well as being totally harmless to plants, humans, and animals, supports the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of rural Kenyans who supply much of the world's pyrethrum, the principal chemical in the flower. Pyrethrum is becoming a major tool in the fight against mosquito-borne illnesses, as the toxin attacks the central nervous system of the insect, causing it to spasm around and drop still over a 30-second period. It's an excellent natural pesticide, not only for gardens and crops, but livestock, who can breathe a sigh of relief from biting ticks and flies if a little pyrethrum is rubbed onto their neck, legs, and shoulders. Oh, give your little cow a shoulder rub. I bet they'd love that. Simply growing Chrysanthemum cinereifolium near any plants you wish to keep insect-free is enough to protect them from most pests, such as the power of the pyrethrum therein. Pyrethrin is the most important insecticide in the world, says Joel Mena-Kibet, Chief Agriculture Officer of Nakuru County in Kenya. It is natural, organic, and it has no environmental effects, and it is user-friendly. As chemical insecticides are responsible for mass insect death around the world. Is it deadly to cats? Is it? Oh wow. Declines in honeybees and many other deleterious effects on animals. The need for mass-produced natural chemicals is high. I didn't know that. Kenya is uniquely suited for the cultivation of the flower and the pyrethrum it produces, as its central highlands region provides perfect growing conditions for the flower, which bursts out of the ground following Kenya's 2 rainy seasons. So maybe best used on the farm, but not indoors. During the 1970s and 80s, Kenya grew nearly all the pyrethrum in the world decades after the arrival of the chrysanthemum species from Japan, along with British colonizers. It became such an economic driver that it was placed in the Kenyan coat of arms following independence. After the rise of industrial agriculture and the cheaper pyrethrum produced elsewhere, the entire pyrethrum farming industry in Kenya collapsed. The pyrethrum state monopoly only finished paying off debts to growers in 2018, a year after Kenya liberalized the market, encouraging competition, production, and innovation. In Quebec's Nakuru County 2017 saw 15,703 farming households receive C. cinerae erifolium seedlings from the county government and half a dozen private companies. National Geographic reports that these are already generating income for more than 100,000 rural Kenyans. In total, we've given out 23.3 million seedlings since we started the revival of the sector, Kibet told Nat Geo in a special feature on pyrethrum. Most of us became what we are because of that flower. We remember seeing beautiful landscapes covered with white sheets of flowers. We have done it before, and the results were very good. And we have knowledge. We have the existing infrastructure as well. Where before, farmers sometimes had to wait months to receive payments for their deliveries, the private sector are settling up with a few days on the popular mobile payment app, which in turn allows farmers to quickly pay for school and other things. Much of the pyrethrum goes to making mosquito-killing incense, coils of pyrethrum produced from dried C. cinerae rifolium that are popular insect repellents around the world. A University of Nairobi field study reported that pyrethrum-based insect spray managed to kill around 96% of a recent desert locust plague, a devastating phenomenon that creates unstoppable swarms of flying insects that can devour 300 million pounds of crops in a single day. My gosh, that's a lot of bugs. Since much of the world's pyrethrum is grown in the Horn of Africa, where locusts are such a problem, it seems like the perfect solution. Well, I don't know much about fighting bugs, but if I had a big old super soaker full of this stuff, I would just go out there and fight the good fight. I've never really liked bugs for the most part, though. I'm not really a spider guy. I used to know someone, actually I still know someone named Tabitha, I call her Tabs, who loves spiders, and she has pet spiders, but, you know, one person's interests and all that, I have a beholder. You worked for Orkin for 8 years. Well, I never knew that, Jenny. I hope that it was a nice job for you. You know, Anna, looking at that little bit emote, the bit alert, it's making me happy right now. I'm really enjoying it. I'm very grateful for that. 100 pennies. Mosquitoes are really annoying. You, Anna, well, thank you again. It's the first one. You're the first bidder. So congratulations. I wish I could give you a little thing just for that. You're the bit lord. You do have your own little badge for now, though. But yes, hopefully, good vibes. Winning. You are winning right now, actually. I'd like to get that little thing that makes the dancing emotes on your screen. I'm not sure exactly what setting that is, but I'll look it up later. So, here's our next one. Trash company finds $25,000 stashed in a discarded freezer and tracks down owners to return cold hard cash. Let's see how long this one is. Not long at all, good. There's plenty a humorous tale to provide an adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But when one Ohio family accidentally threw their grandma's treasure into the trash, it was no laughing matter. Unbeknownst to her relatives, the canny granny had stashed $25,000 in cold hard cash in her freezer. While tidying up the kitchen, her erstwhile kinfolk accidentally tossed out the tidy sum along with the outdated frozen veggies. So this is a lesson to everybody who hoards their money around their house. If you have a will or some kind of standing notice or resource for whenever a person passes, make sure that you make it obvious to your family where you happen to keep things of extreme importance. Because my father used to do this exact same thing. He used to stash money all across the house, only he knew where it was. And I caught him once in the garage just pulling out like $100 bills from this little thing he had hidden. And I was like, why? I understand why you wouldn't want to bring that to a bank, sure, but you better make sure the money stays safe. Cold, hard cash, huh? I know, Ella, I know. It was only after the fact that the elderly woman remembered to warn her family not to misplace the envelope with the money in it, instead of being tossed. Yeah, I know. That's one of the worst things that could happen, is it just never gets used by anybody with the money in it. But by then it was too late. The garbage had already been collected and her nest egg was on its way to the city landfill. I've always wondered what kind of treasures are hidden inside of landfills. I think there's an alternate universe somewhere where I'm some kind of scrap warrior in the after society, where I make armor and weapons out of scrap night, you could say. And I make little ornaments and pretty pieces of smelted and refined metals. This is kind of a crazy idea, but maybe it's some fantasy I endure and think about from time to time. I'm sure it would smell bad though. Frantic, the family reached out to Republic Solid Waste Services to see if there was any way their grandma's missing savings could be retrieved. It would all depend. They learned on whether or not the truck had already arrived at the landfill. Had the truck offloaded at the dump site, it would have been a lost cause. The bulldozers immediately start smoothing it out, pushing it into the hill, dropping dirt on it, and start covering up the process of the landfill. Republic Operations Supervisor Gary Capon told Cleveland's ABC News 5, "We do that in a non-stop process, so if it got dropped there, there's no fighting it anymore." Luckily, Capon was able to track down the driver who had yet to make the drop-off. The truck was diverted to a nearby recycling center where its 6-ton cargo of garbage was disgorged on the tarmac, and a crew of 10 stalwart workers immediately began sifting through the mountain of refuse in search of the buried booty, and find it they did in record time. There is no quicker thing than somebody searching through trash to find treasure. One of the most quick things you can do besides searching through trash to find a baby or something. Maybe that's slightly faster, I'm not sure. Certainly they're both very fast. I couldn't believe it took 10 minutes, and actually I said, "Man, it looks just like that. Man, it looks just like that." Pulled it off, opened it up, and there was the package inside with the money. They, the family, were so happy they were tearing up. Dan Shoei, operations manager at the recycling center, told News 5, "It's rare that we can find something for somebody, so this is like the biggest one I've seen in 30 years. While we're glad the story has a happy ending, a word of warning to the well-meaning declutterers of the world. Elderly people often have a habit of squirreling money and other valuables away in honest places. So if helping clear out a loved one's residence is on your to-do list, be sure to proceed with caution. Since greens from the U.S. Mint generally have no expiration date, it would be a sin to throw them out." Well, there are many stories of wiserly older people keeping with them a exorbitant amount of cash, to the point where they are basically dragons sitting on a hoard of cash and gold. And I appreciate that people do like to keep their money close because, whatever feelings they have about money are their own feelings, of course. But certainly, if you're going to stay with that much money, I think money is meant to be spent for the most part. Like, if you have more than, $100,000 sitting around, some people do. 25,000 is not too far away. I think you should be spending that on charity, on helping people, and on trying to make the world a better place. That might be putting a child through college or yourself, and that's noble enough, but I think many people just hide it all away and then sit on top of it, guarding it for some reason. I certainly think that's not a way to do it, but who am I to say? So here's our next one. Company turns your loved one's ashes into elegant stones, by Andy Corbley from the 18th. A smooth pebble, fired in a kiln from the ashes of a dearly departed, is the latest way Americans can choose to carry on the memory of a loved one. A parting stone is a startup looking to give people both a personal and portable way to remember someone they've lost, with one person's ashes capable of producing a collection of stones. That's very nice. As GNN has reported before, Americans as a whole don't have the best relationship with the passing of a loved one. While the cost of traditional casket burial funerals is reaching unsustainable levels, a sea of new companies are rushing in to help people find better, cheaper solutions. Some have leaned towards the green funeral movement with composting caskets made of mushrooms, or forest conservation funded by scattering ashes at the base of a tree. Others have moved into personalized ash crafting, such as pressing a loved one into a vinyl record, a beautiful glass sculpture, or even an artificial diamond. Parting stone is a mixture of the two, sparing soils from the near ammonia levels of pH found in human ashes, while also allowing people to quite discreetly carry a small memory of the departed with them. It's a canvas for the experience, not the experience itself, explains founder Justin Crow to Fast Company. The ashes are milled into a really fine powder and mixed with water to create a clay-like base. This is placed into a kiln and fired into the stone, which is then polished. Without knowing exactly why, the stones tend to vary in color, which Crow hypothesizes could be due to physiological differences between the deceased, such as diet composition or medications. Regardless, they can appear white, brown, faintly bluish, gray, green, lavender, or with a variety of speckled patterns. Weighing between 4 to 8 pounds, a family will typically get anywhere from 40 to 60 stones at the cost of $675 for a human and $300 for a pet. I like this a lot, actually. This is really growing on me quickly. Crow explains that he came up with the idea after losing his grandfather in 2014 and wanted a better experience with his remains, which felt void of spirit, even in a decorative urn. Of course, as Crow points out, ashes usually come in a plastic bag before an urn is chosen. We don't accept this experience in any other part of modern life. Why are we accepting it for people we love? He said. He remembers how people felt around the stones at a business conference, when more than 200 people asked to hold them. Collecting small, beautiful, or fascinating stones is something many of us do, especially in natural places like a waterfall or in a desert wash, where interesting geological processes occur. Holding a smooth stone that fits nicely in one's palm, knowing it contains a piece of something you love, speaks to that very primal desire. I wonder if that is the cost of cremation and making the stones, or just making the stones. It's probably the cost of the stones, but maybe you could get like a... Never mind, I'm not going to say that. But certainly, I'm sure cremation still costs something else on top of that. And I actually like this idea a lot. It's kind of changing my idea of what I might like to happen to me after I pass. Because you could put those stones all across the world and leave them there. And that's like giving back to the environment too. I like that a lot, actually. I'm going between being pressed into the seeds of like a great oak tree or this. I'm not sure which I would prefer. Maybe you could do both. I don't know. It's certainly interesting to think about, though. So we've got a kind of a funny one here. Here's this one. Mom's zoo pig is adorably photobombed by a stingray. So what is up with this stingray? I know that they have faces, right? Stingrays have faces, but they're kind of creepy. they're kind of creepy. If you see what I mean, it's like looking at you. I prefer to think their faces are on top of them where the rest of them are. The underneath face is just very strange. A mom's photo was amusingly photobombed by a bemused stingray pulling the exact same face as her baby daughter. It's synchronicity, it really is. 41-year-old Wendy Armstrong regularly takes her young daughters, 2-year-old Aurora, it's a lovely name, and 6-month-old Daisy, also a lovely name, for a day out to the Lake District Coast Aquarium in England. Aquariums are very special places. During one visit, Wendy noticed a stingray was taking a particular interest in Daisy, and that both were pulling the same forlorn facial expression. Nurse Wendy and her power plant worker husband, Mike Armstrong, said Daisy has been a very serious baby. The mom of 2 from Workington in Cumbria said, "It is definitely up there as one of our favorite pictures that we have of our kids. I had my phone out, and when I saw they were both pulling the same miserable facial expression, I burst out laughing and took the photo. Thankfully, Daisy is much happier now. Thanks for bringing a big smile to so many faces, Daisy." Yeah, that's very strange to have something in common with a manta ray. Stingray. I've never seen a stingray face like that before. It's very strange. They're very strange creatures. But yes, it is definitely interesting to me that there are so many unique qualities in animals and how they can kind of mimic us somehow. I don't know how, but the faces of animals are more complex than I imagine sometimes. They really are. So here's another one. Black cat's meows led rescuers to 83-year-old owner after she fell into a ravine. Black cats may have a reputation for being bad luck, which is completely undeserved and untrue, as will any black cat owner tell you. But don't tell that to the owner of one ebony feline who helped save her life. Piran, the kitty, lives with his cat mom in a rural area of Cornwall, England. When the 83-year-old Bodmin woman went missing, neighbors launched a search party scouring the nearby countryside, but she was nowhere to be found, until searchers caught sight of an agitated Piran mewing loudly by a cornfield gate. The cat is very attached to her, and he was going back and forth in the gateway and meowing. So I decided to go and search the maize field, searcher Tamar Longmuir told Sky News. With the crops standing 7 feet tall, the going was difficult. Keeping to the perimeter, Longmuir skirted the field, calling out her neighbor's name. She'd reached the bottom of the field when she finally heard a faint response. To Longmuir's dismay, she realized the elderly woman had taken a tumble down a steep 70-foot ravine. My gosh. After passing through, she had finally come through to the rest in the stream, although Longmuir was able to make her way down to access the situation, and thankfully learned her neighbor had sustained no major injuries. It's believed the octogenarian had been stuck there for several hours. Longmuir had to climb back up the ravine to get cell phone service, but she was able to contact emergency crews who soon arrived to extricate the stranded senior from the ravine. After a concerted 2-hour effort by almost 25 emergency personnel from the police, fire department, and air and water rescue services, the woman was airlifted to a nearby hospital for treatment. Whilst the lady concerned is still currently receiving care, she is in good spirits and is being well looked after, Bodmin police said in the Facebook post. Piran the cat saved the day. Indeed, had Piran not sounded the alarm, the outcome might have been vastly different. Without the cat waiting at the gate to the field, it could have been hours later that I or anyone else would have checked in there, Longmuir told Sky News. Grateful for Piran's persistent vocal intervention in aid of his human, neighbors are pitching in to take care of her kitty while she recuperates. In America, August 17th marks National Black Cat Appreciation Day. Is that really the 17th? I didn't know that was a thing. But considering Piran's recent heroic deeds, we think an international show of appreciation for a tale that begins and ends with a cat's meow would be just about perfect. Oh man, that was something. The ending on that one. You know, I've always liked black cats. Ever since Sebastian from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, he was my favorite part of that show. I don't know why, but I always liked him so much. He really was great. He was kind of the voice of reason, also the straight man, you could say. I like talking cats, though. I imagine if a cat could talk, it would have a lot to say. Salem, actually, thank you. I don't know why I thought it was Sebastian. But yeah, Salem. I like that cat. I really do. I have a friend named Sebastian who I was just talking to, is why I thought that. Explains everything. So we've just got a few more stories to get through. Mining zinc, nickel, and cobalt from plants. Phytomining is the sustainable future. That cat had good witty comebacks. That's what I remember too. He was very smart. He was always on point. So this is a very interesting picture. Take a look at this. That's very strange. Nickel-rich sap coming from Phyllanthus rufuscania, Anthony von der ENTUK. Big tropical mining companies could soon be presented with a green alternative to traditional strip mining by letting plants hoover up the trace minerals instead of mining equipment doing it instead. Phytomining, as it's called, relies on a select few species of plants that can literally suck the soil dry of minerals like zinc, selenium, nickel, and cobalt, rather than polluted rivers, plumes of sulfur dioxide, and the throng of heavy machinery. Phytomining, as one demo site which started in 2015 bears witness, relies on locals to trim a few feet of a 20-foot tall green shrub. These leavings are collected and burned to create a bio-ore. Bio-ore, that's a great term. Filled with 20 to 25% nickel by weight. I'm gonna write that one down. Bio-ore is an awesome term. Mine the bio-ore. I'm writing that down. I always try to write it down when I see like a really great science word. I'm keeping that one in my back pocket for a while. The mining industry is keen to see how this green alternative to one of the most carbon-heavy industries can actually perform. Allowing plants to gather materials for you beats rooting around for it in the ground on a remote island like Borneo. We can demonstrate that metal farms can produce between 150 to 250 kilograms of nickel per hectare. That's around 170 to 280 pounds per acre annually. Anthony van der Ent, a senior research fellow at Australia's University of Queensland, told Grist in a special report on phytomining in Indonesia. At this stage, phytomining can go full scale for nickel immediately, while phytomining for cobalt, thallium, and selenium is within reach, Van der Ent said. This literally means like nickel grows on trees. You guys understand that? What if you could do this with gold? It would literally be like gold can grow on trees. What kind of age are we living in? Honestly, what is this? I never would have imagined we could do this, right? This is insane. Just go up to a tree and pluck the platinum leaves off of it. I hope you guys understand how much of a mind trip this is. Nickel mining companies might be drooling over the scientific modeling Van der Ent and other metal farmer experts have done that found nickel phytomining to be on a similar cost basis to corn farming, with an after-production gross of around 1,800 per hectare, making it very profitable activity. While the Grist report details phytomining in Borneo, trials have been done in the USA, Italy, Albania, Canada, France, Spain, and New Zealand. There are around 700 recognized hyperaccumulators, which is the term for plant species that can absorb large quantities of these minerals before depositing them in their shoots, branches, and leaves. There are some parallels to food agriculture. For example, the amendment of calcium is vital, while nitrogen and organic material supplementation seem to increase the available nickel in plant shoots. By far the most advantageous aspect of phytomining, if you run a major mining corporation, is actually not where the soil is rich, but where the soil is poor, nickel. At concentrations of 1% or less, the only option is to strip mine, for example, in locations like Brazil, Cuba, Indonesia, the Philippines, and New Caledonia. Hope you have a great stream. You have to go to work, but you'll still be lurking. Well, thank you for showing up, and thank you for the 100 pennies. The bits are very helpful. It's the first, that's the first money I've made on here, so I'm very grateful. Yeah, have a good night and enjoy your set. 100 bits, wow. It involves taking a surface layer of rock and soil off a stretch of ground and using acid-leaching heavy machinery to extract the scarce nickel particles. All this unhappy work for very little metal results in a layer of toxic topsoil filled with trailing metal particles that has been collected and sold to landfills at great cost to the miners. With production in the Indonesian site slowed due to recent events, Van der End is using this time to develop a hydrometallurgical extraction method so as to avoid burning the plant trimmings for nickel, thus eliminating the CO2 generated. That's pretty exciting. Just imagine if you wanted to get an ingot of metal and you reached up to a tree and just plucked it off. Go up to the steel tree, the titanium tree. Literally, a gold tree is not very far from here. Like, we're getting pretty close at this point. If you can grow nickel on a tree, I mean, what else can you grow? I don't even know how to... I'm not sure how... Like, that just sounds crazy to me. It sounds absolutely crazy. Okay, time for our next one. Hacker who stole and gave back $600 million is offered a reward and a job on the company's security team. A dramatic digital turn of events, a hacker with a heart of gold who exploited a flaw to steal $600 million worth of cryptocurrency from a trading site has been offered a job as chief security advisor to the very company he robbed. This is actually very common. Not always that they get this much money or give it back, but being seen as like an asset for being a good hacker. My friend Sebastian actually does ethical hacking as his recent, because he just graduated from uni, as his recent thing, and certainly this would be interesting to him, I think. He was even offered $500,000 as a reward if he could track down and identify the flaw which allowed him to breach the network's security, but he turned it down before returning the stolen property to the users who lost it. Poly Network, a platform for making cryptocurrency transactions across different blockchains, was shocked to find that more than $500 million was stolen through a vulnerability identified by a hacker named Mr. White Hat. Lovely. It's a good alias. While the assets were flagged, making them almost impossible to convert into dollars, Poly Network decided the best way to ensure their network was hack-proof was to hire the man that proved it wasn't. In a statement, Poly Network said they maintained daily communication with Mr. White Hat, who shared his concerns about Poly Network's security and overall development strategy in the recent public dialogue. We are also counting on more experts like Mr. White Hat to be involved in the future development of Poly Network, also to extend our thanks and encourage Mr. White Hat to continue contributing to security advancement in the blockchain world together. We cordially invite Mr. White Hat to be the chief security advisor of Poly Network, they added. Poly Network has said several times they have chosen not to pursue legal recourse, and while Mr. White Hat declined the offer of the $50,000 to hunt down the source of the security breach, the company gave it to him anyway, to use at his own discretion for the cause of cybersecurity and supporting more projects and individuals. Poly Network has also announced that anyone using their platform to trade CC will receive up to $100,000 in Ethereum as a bug bounty for each critical vulnerability they identify and bring to the company's attention. That's pretty great. So far, all but 33 million of the 600 million worth of CC Mr. White had lifted has been returned, with the remainder still frozen and unable to move. It's an escrow. I know that term well enough. So everybody, we're at the halfway point. And what that means is we take some time standing up, stretching out, getting some water. We make sure that we're doing nice, that we're feeling all limber, and then we come on back in 5 minutes. So go ahead and stand up and make sure you've got snacks and make sure that your limbs are all motioned out, and head on back, because that's what I'm going to do. Hope you have a good night. Thank you, Ginny. I'm so glad you could make it. I hope you have a safe night. I'll see you later. And we're back. So I hope you all had a lovely break, and I'll be ready to get back to some good news before we do some animal videos. Alright, so here's our next good news story. Police dog trained to find weapons aces special assignment of finding a lost diamond ring on a sandy beach. This is from yesterday's news. A Michigan woman accidentally lost her wedding rings on the sandy shores of Lake Superior, but soon celebrated the return of the precious jewelry after some sudden police work by the local sheriff's canine dog. Elsa Green had taken her rings off at Eagle Beach to apply some sunscreen, setting them carefully in her hat. Later, she was suddenly startled by a large bug crawling on the cap, and she tossed it into the air, remembering only seconds later that her precious rings were inside. When a frantic search for the wedding band and magic engagement ring turned up nothing, Green and her friends enlisted the aid of someone using a metal detector who was scanning the sand, but he couldn't find them either. I felt sick about it, she told the Washington Post. I'd been wearing those rings every day for 17 years. But at that moment, I figured they were gone. Hoping the police might have another metal detector that would allow them to continue the search, Green's pal drove to the Keweenaw County Sheriff's Office while the department didn't have a metal detector. They did have a doggo. That's a pretty good thing. A specially trained 5-year-old Dutch Shepherd with a nose for ferreting out weapons. Doggo can also find things by honing in a person's signature odor. According to Doggo's handler, Sergeant Brad Pelly, canines trained in article search can detect pretty much anything that still has a human scent trail on it. But looking for a lost wedding ring would be a first. Arriving at the beach, Pelly cleared the area of people so Doggo would have the best shot at locking on to the olfactory clue he was searching for without distraction. It didn't take him long. The intrepid pooch latched onto the scent of Green's engagement ring and dutifully sat down on the spot. Pelly sifted some sand through his hand and found its hiding place, and then found the second ring close by. With the rings back on her finger, where they belonged, Green and her 9-year-old son gave Doggo a huge hug and heaped praise on Sergeant Pelly for volunteering his services without any payment. The ecstatic Green posted on Facebook, celebrating the amazing find. "K9 Doggo, you will forever be my hero," she enthused. Doggo put his training and skills to use, and sure enough, he found my rings. I'll be bringing you ice cream to say thank you. All Doggo requires for a job well done is some praise and a chance to play with his favorite ball. But after the mini miracle at the beach, a little treat might be a possum reward. Green's friend Kieran Saunders Cazell commented, "Amazing job. We're so fortunate to have a team here in Keweenaw." Well, that's pretty great. We've got 2 more stories. And they both seem to be pretty short. One of them is a video, though. Yeah, one of them is a video. And then we can decide what animal videos we will be watching. A man spots his dog on television that was missing for 2 years, and he knew that infamous underbite. Here's the dog in question. A man in Milwaukee, Wisconsin was watching television last week when the Whitey News team showed a photo of a dog that was available for adoption. "Meet Mason," the news segment began. Dwight Gary took one look at the dog and said out loud, "No, that's not Mason, that's most definitely Payday." He recognized the distinctive underbite of his little black pup, who had gone missing from their yard more than 2 years ago, after being frightened by fireworks. It's very common. Very, very common. He contacted the news desk of Channel 6, which regularly features pet adoptions for the Wisconsin Humane Society. The coincidence led to a fairy tale ending when Payday was reunited with his family and immediately recognized him upon arrival. And here's the video that goes with it. Get out of here, Fox. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Show me the animal. Oh, look at that tail. What a cutie. Marking his territory. Floofy tail. Oh, he's a happy boy. Oh, that's a great reunion. I love this guy's here too. That dog has big old bug eyes. Aw, it's so crazy that dogs can get that excited when they meet their owners again. They just get so ridiculously wildly excited. I think I'm going to start walking dogs again at the animal shelter pretty soon here, after I get on to a different medication, I think. Well, okay, that was great. And our last story for the day. San Francisco Airport protects endangered species until it boasts more of them than any place on Earth. From yesterday's news. One of the most beautiful of its species, the garter snake that inhabits the San Francisco Peninsula, is also the most endangered of its kind. Fortunately for the California serpent, it has human protectors who have given it a safe haven near the runways of the San Francisco International Airport. The San Francisco garter snake, Thamnophis sertalis tetratene, which can grow to 3 feet in length, has skin that looks like a black canvas painted with racing stripes of bright orange and neon turquoise. Yeah, I could see that. As the Bay Area has grown and developed, the wetland habitat that is needed to sustain the harmless snake has diminished, so the animal was listed as endangered 54 years ago. Brutal droughts have also thinned its population and that of their prey as well. While the snake is mostly isolated around the San Francisco Peninsula, they are thriving in numbers near the tarmac of the airport known as SFO. A tract of 160 privately owned acres has been put to work to save the beautiful reptile, including the construction of many small ponds where the snakes can keep moist, breed, and hunt for its favorite prey, the red-legged frog, which is also endangered and given sanctuary on the SFO runway lawn. The officials who own the land and operate the airport now boasts they've kept 1,300 snakes happy and fed, while the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services looks for a better solution. In fact, the recent survey by the FWS declared this to be the largest population of this particular garter snake anywhere, something the SFO brass found to be a pleasant surprise. I'm sure they did. Everything that happens here is designed to protect these species, said SFO spokesperson Doug Yackel, according to The Guardian. For us, success would be that there is a stable, thriving population, but to find out we had the largest population of all, it was really a pleasant surprise. In the rest of the Bay Area, cats and dogs have become 2 of the snake's top predators. But at the airport, the snakes pretty much have the land to themselves, a double positive as the airport wildlife biologists can make sure that they are insulated from the effects of climate change that would normally damage wild populations. The frogs, too, have ponds they can safely raise their tadpoles in. As our airport continues to evolve, this is the one place that continues to stay the same. Yackel said, "We want to continue to provide a good, stable environment for these 2 endangered species, Hearing they're thriving, that is the ultimate validation. In the 1985 recovery plan laid out alongside the endangered listing, the FWS wrote that 10 populations of at least 200 snakes must be stable or growing for 15 consecutive years before the snake can be considered for delisting. By this criteria, at least one habitat SFO has come through with spades. And that is it for our good news of the week. Certainly, it's a nice little thing to read. It makes me feel better having all this good news showing up after the week I've been through. It's certainly a bit of a respite. So, what good animals are we looking at? Who has a good news animal they'd like to hear? I can suggest one if you guys would like. However, I'd like to hear what you think. Maybe Lily has something to say. I'd like to hear what Lily thinks. We could do snakes. We could do canines. We could do small puppies. We could go with cats like always, though, if you guys are interested in that. We'll start with snakes. Ooh. Snake dodo. No snakes. We did horses before. LOL, why snake? We just had a snake story is all. I thought they could be cute. How about you want to do horses, Lily? I'm totally happy doing horses for you. Don't worry, I understand. Snakes can be a little scary sometimes, but I thought they might be cute. Horse, dodo. Okay, we'll do some horses. That would be great. Aw. Look at that big old boy. Aw. It must be wonderful to be a horse girl. I don't think I'll ever experience that, but I do like horses. They're very big. Hi-yah! And you just climb them. Ooh, riding without a saddle. Ooh. You know, that's not as easy for men as it is for women. Not easy for any of them, but you don't want to be a guy on top of that horse, I'll tell you that much. You have to have the right movements, one could say, to have a comfy ride there. Ooh, that's a nice shot though, on horseback. Imagine that though, just riding on your horse, going across the land. Been to the shelter lately. I haven't been able to because of how crazy everything's been for me, but as soon as I think my medication stuff is stable again, I will definitely go back to the shelter. And I'll look at kitties, I will maybe give someone a bath, and I will take some dogs for walks if the weather is good enough. But yeah, I think the only time I've ever been around a horse really was when I was very young. I might have been about 7 or 6. And you most times talk about your day there. I do. And I was at like that farm that everybody takes children to, like in whatever area, to try and understand animals. I remember I touched a cow's udder. I remember that. I squeezed it, and I was like, ew, milk comes out of that? And I was like, well, you know, if you can't beat them, join them, right? And so I milked a cow. I touched the udder, and then I saw a horse, but I didn't go on horseback. But I've been on an elephant's back. I've ridden an elephant before, but that was like a very well-known elephant that had done it a million times. It didn't really feel like I was on the back of an elephant. It was kind of just like, you know, elephant-like. I would have preferred to have been or whatever they're called, the people that ride elephants as their livelihood. I can't remember what they're named, but they have a very special name. Aw, what a good girl. I've got a horse in Skyrim that I'm very happy with. I named him Cain. K-A-I-N. No, C-A-I-N. He's very pretty. I've got a nice horse cloak on him, and I'm very happy about that. Aw, look at that big girl. A medical professional in my life really likes horses, and I see why, though. They're just very majestic. Yeah, let's look for another one. Oh man, yeah, horses, they don't get taken care of in a lot of places, and this one's very thin. I'm gonna look out for any, okay, so it looks like we're good. I just didn't want to see any videos of them being too hungry. They need to have a lot of food, though. You need to stop and let them eat often. They could definitely use a few pounds. I have never ridden a horse before. I've ridden an elephant, but not a horse. Isn't that strange? I think if I could, I don't know if I'd make a good cowboy, a cowpoke. I think Ella would have a good word for it. A Casspoke, there we go. I made it up myself, Ella. I hope you're proud of me. But yeah, certainly being a cowboy, it might be cool, you know. I don't like dust very much, which maybe nobody does. But if I could wear not a hat, I'm not sure what I would wear. I'm not really a hat kind of guy. I'd wear something though, nice vest. Nice colors. Yeah, certainly something. Trying allergic to dust. Trying being allergic to dust. Oh gosh, you wouldn't make a good cow person. Is it okay to say cowgirl? I feel like that's offensive. You'd be a good cowpoke though if you weren't allergic to dust. Ooh, I'd wash a horse. Somehow washing a horse seems easier than washing a dog. You know what I mean? I don't know if it would be, but it seems easier. Aw. Just need some grass and some homes, and you'll be right as rain. You're cheering on Amazon Smile as North Carolina Horse Protection Society. Aw. Well, feel free to put a link in chat if you'd like to. Yeah, so they were in dire straits looking for grass. And now they've got plenty of grass, plenty of hay, and a salt lake. Oh gosh, a salt lake, can you imagine? Animals can't get enough out of the salt lake. They just can't. We knew in St. Jude's, but one day we did a bunch of stuff, and Toy almost cried because he wanted to benefit them horses, so we changed our charity. Well, I'm sure Toy would be very happy with whatever charity dedicated to horses managed to accrue, but certainly I imagine that he loves the idea of horses being helped by all of us. I've never really been like a horse expert in any way, but I'm really open to the idea of helping horses and other animals too. I just love animals. As long as they're good boys and girls, then we'll get along. Ooh, look at that hoof. Oh, sorry, I think you volunteered. We lived in North Carolina. Oh. Okay, let me find a way to put that link in there for you. Can you link that to me on a Discord, and then I'll link it here? Yeah, I think I didn't like your link for some reason. Oh, I know why. It's because you're not a moderator, which is okay. Yeah, if you link me on Discord, I'll link it in chat, or playful, whichever. I'm sure he's been proud of you for continuing your love of horses. Yeah, I bet that's a cherished thing for both of you, and I'm sure that there's not much more proud you can get of somebody than watching them take care of an animal. It's a lovely thing. You send it to General in the server. Okay, I'll take a look. Horse protection.org. There it is. Let me see if this will work. And there you go. Oh, look at that sub badge. Look at that awesome sub badge. Do you guys see that sub badge? Isn't it pretty? Ah. I count as a tier 3 sub to my own channel. Lovely. Well, good. I beat you this time. Maybe not next time, though. Talk to me about a moderator badge at some point, and we'll see about changing one for you, if we can. You guys are wonderful. Well, you know, we do our best for you, and we're always happy to help out. A purple heart, I know. It matches your chat color from my end. Let's find another one. A wild horse adopted by a woman becomes best friends with her. The dodo soulmates. Ooh, going into the water with your horse. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him swim. But you can make him drink if he's real thirsty. You can take a horse to water, but you can't keep him dry. That's a good one, too. Oh, man. I've never seen that before. You can actually have them get in water tons of training. Oh. Oh, wow, look at those horses go. Look at them go. They're so fast. Oh. Best friends of the horse. Yeah, I've never really been best friends with any animal, to be honest with you. Next to Slippers, which Slippers I couldn't train. You can't really train cats very easily. It takes a long time. But I've never really been best friends with an animal in in my adult life, I suppose I mean. Oh no, cats aren't meanies. Cats are just very independent. Even because of their lack of they're very dependent creatures, but they're very independent. They do what they want. They can be, but they can also be very clingy. I like when they're clingy though. Well, all right. Rescued and sold their eggs, so we knew he would know what to do with them. Aw, that's a good idea. Certainly could do better than I would probably be able to do. I mean, I've never even looked after a chick before. A wild horse immediately recognizes his girlfriend after years apart. Let's look at this one. All because we lived and stuff, and what time it was, we was able to drive up there because we lived like 3 hours from him. Oh, it's very good timing. Otherwise, you have no idea what we would have done. That chickie was safe because of our doggy. Aw. The dog and the chick. The story. Thank you, Lily, for your lovely story. I like that. The reuniting of a horse family. Oh. Oh. You know, I bet horses have a real strong connection in the way they ride. Because horses have like the most motion and movement of almost any animal in the world. They're constantly moving around. That's their thing. They ride constantly. You know, that's what they do. They're very, very capable of doing that. that they have some separation anxiety. It's good though, now they can adventure with each other for as long as they're still hanging out, as long as they're still around. Together forever, that's how it should be. So, we're going to be doing a special here in about 10 minutes, or maybe about 5 minutes, talking about the process it's been to get to affiliate. And we're just going to watch a few more videos first, maybe 1 or 2 more. This is A Horse Named Magic Inspires At-Risk Girls. Man, this has been a crazy stream. I love how much activity we've had today. I do like these stories of horses taking it easy. You know, they have such a hard time. Horses have the standing up all times. It really lays down because it's bad for them to lay down. Makes them, they can't breathe good. When a horse is sick, Dem gets a giant sling and puts him in something and holds the horse up. I've seen that actually before. The sling you're talking about. I've seen that. It's like a hammock almost. The horse hammock. I never thought of it that way. But yeah, I've seen that, and it does look very strange to me to see them in that position, but you don't see them laying down very often, it's true. Very, very strong leg muscles. The strongest leg muscles, some might say. I'll rest his head on my shoulder. The baby and the horse. They do like to roll on the ground though. Yeah, it does seem like that's their thing for a little while. I think I would too if I was a horse. Aww. She's raising future horse girls of America. Well, good for her. I think horse girls are usually of a good breed. Anyone who cares for animals usually has a much higher chance of turning out really good, because you learn a lot about them. Well, lovely. Okay, folks, it's time to get into our special for this episode. So, let's talk about some stuff that's happened in the first 43 episodes of Cast Talks. So, in episode 1, literally October 31st of last year, it was just me sitting at my computer reading out the word. I would have a random word generator and some Halloween questions. I would read the questions and I would answer them, of course. But I would do word association, and I was doing word association for about 8 or 9 episodes, maybe 10, and I'll be honest with you, that was tough. That was tough, just doing that by myself with nobody there, 0 viewers most of the time, and you know, it took me a long time to find something good to do with the time that was there, not just reading things that were made up by me necessarily, but actually finding good stuff out there that already exists and reading that. It was episode, I want to say 15. I think Playful probably could look that up if she really wanted to. But it was like episode 15 or something that I started reading the good news. It might have been a little further than that, but to start off something like that, I had always been interested in Good News Network, the site that we get all of our good news from. But it wasn't until I started reading them and understanding how much of an impact it has on me to read them. But to hear somebody who you might like the idea of just saying something good or doing something good or responding to something that you like, reading it, crystallizing it, catalyzing it, and making it real. The more good news you hear, the better your life will be, because you'll have that hope of a better future, which is what I want to instill in people. And I mean, the biggest change that I think Ella said this to me at some point, the biggest change was the cat videos, because there's not usually a lot of noise with them, but the videos themselves, if you just like looking at cats or animals, you can get a lot out of them. I don't usually play the audio because it's usually pretty copyright. You forgot how long ago it was as well, but you're glad you joined. You joined me. I'm glad you did too. This has been a real journey for me. And it was like episode 25 we started the animal videos or something like that. And the idea of Cass Talks has always been trying to spread good vibes. It's always been trying to create a nurturing environment for people to come and relax on Saturday evenings. And the idea of people chatting, people showing up to say how they feel, to talk about their week, and to speak with me, and to share my wisdom, and to learn new things, have new stories being told, just like Lily and her awesome dog and chick story. I think all of these stories, they're blended together in a way. They're distilled, and they're mixed until eventually it's a whole new story, a whole new thread woven from these other tiny little threads, and it winds on, getting larger and thicker and stronger until eventually it's something completely different. It's the manifestation of all this beauty that we've made together. And I want that thread to wind far and strong into the future. And I want to do it with all of you guys. So the goal here is to, of course, I'd like to live off of what I would do to help other people, on Twitch, doing ASMR, all that stuff. That would be great to live off of that, sure. But I'll have you know, anything that I don't need or anything that I don't save, I totally intend to give to charity. And I'm not sure what charity I would choose yet. That might be something I ask you guys about. But I don't want to keep a ton of money, more than whatever might be needed for security reasons. But anything more than that, I don't think money should just sit in a bank account and wait there for some kind of inevitability. I think money should be spent while you can, while you still have use of it. And that you should use it to make the world a better place here and now, not in the future. And that's my plan. And just that day, October, it might have been the 30th actually of October in 2020, I was like, what am I doing? I want to do something on Twitch, but I don't know what it is. And I just had this crazy idea. I was like, what if I just get on and start talking? It's so silly. But what if I just get on to Twitch and start saying things, just start talking to people, just start rambling. And at first, I was so nervous and I wasn't sure what to say or how it would be approached. But I had really great friends. I have some of the best friends in the world. And I just thank each of them for supporting me, because I've had moments of doubt. I've had moments of doubt because no one really does anything like this on Twitch. This is extremely niche. And I want it to be, because this is a niche I can fill. It's not really being filled anywhere else. But at the same time, I wanted to create this space for everybody to be happy and to experience something new. But I never thought I'd make it to affiliate in any amount of time. I thought maybe it would take a year and a half or so long, but 10 months is pretty good for it, how niche we are, how completely out of the norm we are. We don't play any games on here, we don't listen to really anything besides like light jazz every now and again. And the jazz was a little bit of a tough decision, as was the abstract art. But I knew, thinking about what this show is, that as classy as we can make it is a good thing. Classier is better in this case, because Cast Talks is all about that good vibe, but not making it kind of crazy and off the wall, making it steady, and very serene. It's why I have been so difficult in my pickiness of finding a guest to be on Cast Talks, because I've met people, I've even asked people to guest, and then it just doesn't end up happening because one thing or another falls through, and the timing just doesn't work out. And I have to decide at some point who will be the first guest. I don't know when it will be either, but I'd like to think it can happen. Probably, depending on the person, quickly enough that it'll be a fun episode. But the chemistry just has to be exactly right. I know, Playful, I know. I prefer having us on the Sunday stream, though, just because I don't think your mic is quite good enough to be on Cast Talks. Sorry to say. But you do talk during the Sunday stream. But I would say that the Sunday stream is more open to that quality, whereas this stream is very ASMR, and the quality has to be even higher than that. And I hold it to an extreme bar, and I guess I'm just pickier, and I hope that me not picking you doesn't make you upset, because I wouldn't want that. I am always grateful for you volunteering, though. It does make me happy that you are interested. Okay, good. I have to think about our topic for tomorrow as well. I keep making them up, just a few hours before. It works out every time. But I'm gonna get caught one day without a topic, and then who knows what'll happen. It's probably partly your fault. Don't talk loud enough for this stream. No, I think you do talk pretty loud, actually, which it's a few things. I think that you're still pretty new to talking on stream. Aw, 2B James. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Well, thank you very much, 2B. Yeah, I think it's just that you're not really used to it yet. And this is a lot of pressure to be putting on somebody to be on Cast Talks, because this is a 2-hour show, and I feel like we sometimes have a lot of trouble making it work with 1 hour. Thank you very much, James. I thank you for the 95 bits. I do my best. I think our experience is a little difficult to make work for 2 hours, but I think 1 hour is just fine. And I think that getting people excited about the 2-hour stream with, however many people could end up on it at one point, it is just a difficult thing to make work, and it has to be the perfect recipe. Otherwise, I don't know if I can accept it. And like I said, this is in no way of offense to you or anything that you stand for, or anything like that. I guess I'm just too picky to have you guest on Cast Talks just yet. I want you to be more experienced with the hosting and stuff like that before we decide to do that. But like I said, I just know what I want. I do know what I want, and I want to make sure that we can do things in the way that would make us both happy, and I don't think we're quite there yet. But yeah, so Cast Talks is 44 episodes in. 44. You guys, you have to see, we're getting pretty close to our first year anniversary, and I didn't know if we would be affiliate by then. I didn't know if we would be doing a 1 year stream first or a 50 episode stream first. I think it's going to be 50 episode first, but the 50 episode stream might be a good one to have a guest on. I just don't know many people that would actually be qualified as far as having hosting experience and having a good chemistry for me to do this. It is really important that you have both of those things. My friend Harmony was definitely a potential guest host for a while, but she's just so busy with her job, and she owns her own business now too, so that didn't end up happening. And we were going to do a stream with the owner of, or one of the people from Relay for Life, but then they got busy, and then I dragged my feet enough that it just didn't end up happening either. And it's something that I think 50 episodes, you think, which is 6 weeks from today. My gosh, 6 weeks from today. Wow. When will we be? We'll be in October again by then, won't we? Something like that. September, October. We'll be in October again. It'll probably be October 20-something, or October 19th, something like that. But thank you for joining us, Tubi. Thank you for joining us. Late September, okay. Thank you for joining us, James. We're at the pretty end of our stream, but we're staying over just a little bit longer to talk about the history of this show so far. And I think where this show is going, I'm not certain how many changes I'll make to this formula, considering it works so well. Oh, always a pleasure. Sorry, you just got in. Well, I appreciate that you were here at all. I'm grateful that you made it, even if it was just a little bit. And even people thinking about coming to the stream, it's always great to have them. Even just in here in spirit is good enough for me. But yes, it is a strange thing. I mean, we started from that episode on October 31st, where September 2nd is our 50th stream. Wow. September 2nd. Okay, I gotta remember that. Is that really? September 2nd, August, September. I don't think that's true. Huh, well, I believe you, but I'm gonna have to look at that for myself, just to make sure. Don't you mean like 12th? No, I don't know. I'll look at it later. Oh, I think you mean October 2nd. But yeah, the show actually started out as 1 hour long. The first maybe 10 or 15 episodes were 1 hour long. And I always felt like, it's not enough time to get people interested, not enough time to get people really into it. Because you get an hour in and you're like, okay, well, I want a little bit more. And I still had more energy to give as well. But by the end of 2 hours, usually I'm pretty wiped out. But this has been a baby for me. This show has been the longest running, most consecutive, most committed thing in my entire life. More committed than any relationships or any other endeavors as far as passion and art and anything else. And I mean, it has shown me so much stuff I didn't know I could do. I didn't know I could run a stream for 10 viewers, get 52 followers, be an affiliate on Twitch. I didn't know I could do any of that. I mean, I was having trouble getting up and brushing my teeth last October, and even today when I'm going through a medication change, I'm still here for all of these people, and we're still having a great show. We're still getting great stories. We're still getting great commentary, and we're doing great things. And every stream, it gets better. And every moment that we have together is more history we can say existed in this stream for maybe all of eternity, depending on how long Twitch and VODs on YouTube stay up for. I don't know how long that'll be, but my guess is at least 50 years, right, is how long YouTube will last. So I might have to move them at some point. I don't know. You're proud of you. Just go to show how much you can change in a year. Well, thank you, Tubi. It is certainly tough. It's very tough to, like, come out of a slump. And I was in a slump last year. And, you know, I have slump moments, of course, but these past 2 weeks have kind of been a heck week. But, you know, you make it through. You make it through, and when you fight through to the end, my friend Sebastian was just saying, keep going through, just hold on, just steel yourself. And that is the secret. If you can steel yourself against whatever is coming for you, whenever you're going to face, when you're going through heck, you gotta keep going. It's the truth. We've been in a slump this past year, to be honest. I think it's been a slumpy year, especially 2020. 2021 less of a slumpy year, but 2020 was a slump year. Well, anyway, this is the last couple of things we're doing for the stream. I think we've talked about history in a good way. Does anyone have any questions for me before we end the stream? Taking any questions at all, as long as they're appropriate and family friendly. I think my favorite question that we've had so far is, what was my favorite anime? And I didn't actually get to tell that person my favorite anime because I had to think about it a little bit. But to answer that question now, my favorite anime is Kaguya-sama Love is War. It's the brilliant love game of chess between two absolutely like crazy people who are trying to force the other to admit that they have feelings for them, but constantly thwart each other one way or the other. And it's just amazing. If you've ever been in like if anyone has any for me, also feel free to ask. Cool. It's been on your watch list forever. I recommend it, James. I recommend it. Kaguya-sama is one of the best anime I've ever seen, just because it is so it's so manipulative in the way that the characters try to force each other to admit that they like to confess their feelings. And it's got some of the best opening themes of all time. One of the best opening intros of all time. Both Love is War and Daddy Daddy Do are just started Death Note a day ago. Well, Death Note is a good trip if you're into that sort of dark deity power vibe. My brother and sister and mom love Death Note, and I think it's really good. I don't like it that much myself, but I think it's great. I have really high respect for it and the people that made it. And I recommend it. I recommend Kaguya-sama. And finally started your Blue Exorcist manga collection today. Well, alright. Blue Exorcist, my friend, let's see, was it Jesse? Was it Jamie? No, Jessica. Jessica, a friend of mine before we split up, maybe forever. She was really into Blue Exorcist, and she showed me how great the anime is. I haven't seen the manga myself, but the anime is pretty good. I like that he gets like the fire horns. That was my favorite part. Blue Exorcist is pretty cool. I have to say, I really enjoyed the top 5 for you. Well, cool. I've suddenly gotten very burpy. But yeah, and this is a special stream for me, and I'm so glad all of you guys could be here with me, and I'm so glad for the support, for the activity in chat, for just all of you guys. And I'm not trying to love bomb you or anything, but like, this is the like the best thing that I do with my life right now, and I want to keep doing this for years. The only foreseeable cutoff point for me is episode 1000. If we make it to episode 1000, that might be the finale. Cass and I really appreciate everyone coming out and helping. Thank you. Yeah, we wouldn't be here without your support. We really wouldn't. This is a really strong thing, and 1,000 episodes might be where I call it. I don't know for sure, but that's certainly a long way from now, so we'll see when we get there. Certainly it would be a nice even number to round off, to end off on. But okay, I think we're good for today. If any of you would like to join our Discord, only been here for 15 minutes, but you're sure you'll join for future streams, chill, and good vibes, honestly. Well, I'm glad to hear that, James. And if you'd like to join our Discord, we have our our own little Discord here if anyone's interested. And also the YouTube link to my channel and every single VOD I've ever made, which is over 72 hours of content, will be available on the ending splash screen. This has been Cast Talks episode 44, and I wish all of you a very safe night, that you take it easy, and that you take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Good night, folks.